retiring is
the disposal of an asset when it's no longer useful. Yeah.
So you are still useful. So how do you want to be useful in this next stage of life?
Do you want a wealthy retirement without worrying about money? Welcome to the Retire in Texas podcast, where you will discover how to enjoy your faith, your family, and your freedom in the state of Texas. And now, here's your host, financial advisor, author, and all-around good Texan, Darryl Lyons.
Hey, this is Darryl Lyons, CEO and co-founder of PAX Financial Group, and you're listening to Retire in Texas. This information is general in nature only. It's not intended to provide specific investment, tax, or legal advice. Visit paxfinancialgroup.com for more information. And if you're looking for a financial conversation, this specific show is really designed to teach you about money by still keeping you grounded in what's really most important in life. And so if that's what you're looking for, this is the right place. I'd love for you to leave a show saying that actually made sense. So we try to keep things simple. And I really feel like if you were to define, in my interpretation of the word elegant, is taking something that's completely complex and delivering it in a simple way. I think that's the very essence of elegance. And so that's what we try to deliver. But sometimes these financial topics can be confusing. And so that's why I brought in Greyson, Hanna, and he's an advisor here at PAX Financial. Thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So what I want Greyson to do, this show is for business owners, but you'll find some relevance in it. So hang with me. But we wanted to make sure that the business owners in the community understand a process that we take them through to help them think about how to transition their business from where they're at today to the next phase. I've worked with so many business owners. Those people that know me, I certainly started at PAX Financial Group in 2007 with a handful of other guys, and then my mom and dad own a business. They sold that. My sister has owned a business for a year. My brother owns a business. So small business is in my blood. I've lobbied for small business. In fact, this is kind of an interesting factoid. On not the one big beautiful bill, but there was another bill like in 2010. Senator Cornyn actually mentioned Darryl Lyons of PAX Financial Group as some quote that I had about a tax reduction for small business. So that's
cool. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
It's a neat shout out.
Yeah. So just to say that I've been an advocate for small business for a long time. And so we created a process that we take small business owners through and help them think about their business, but it's not just quantifiable. Like, it's not just numbers. There's just a lot of factors. And if you've sold a business, I know you're listening and you've sold a business, you realize how emotional this thing gets. So I look forward to hearing your feedback if you have any insights that you want to share, but we want to make sure that we are walking alongside of business owners very well. So we're going to take you through the process that we take our clients through. And this is 6 stages that we meet, that we have. We call them phases, 6 phases, but it starts with phase 0. Can you tell us what phase 0 is?
Yeah, absolutely. So before doing anything, in any of the work we do with any of our clients, we need to really understand your situation. So that's exactly what this phase 0 is, what we call it. It's where we just have a conversation, have it with you, and we prioritize the spouse as well. It's honestly a non-negotiable. Spouse needs to be there.
Yep.
Because quite honestly, you've made a lot of sacrifices as business owner, but I could argue the spouse has made even more sacrifices.
Yeah. Tell them, we do the Enneagram.
Yeah.
You want to mention anything about that?
Yeah. So the Enneagram's interesting. I've done it a handful of times. And you really learn a lot about yourself, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I know.
You really learn what makes you tick, and how you are communicated, how you're best communicated to, how you best receive, Feedback, and really get a message across.
Yeah, so if you're listening, you're not a business owner, check out the Enneagram. It tends to get a lot of traction within the Christian communities. So I know there's people that are critics of it, and rightfully so. It's definitely not a perfect tool, but it's one that helps me understand people better. And I found it to be very helpful in this stage to introduce that Enneagram, and just for us to be able to learn what's most important to the client. Now, we've got some other behavioral finance tools that we'll go through, but that's a good one. And then we give them a copy of Small Business Big Pressure, right?
Great book, yeah. It's a quick read, really powerful read, though.
Yeah, I probably need to do a revision on that book. That's one day. Anything else in Ground Zero?
No, not really. Just laying the groundwork and setting expectations. It's the big takeaway.
Yeah.
The first meeting.
Okay, and then the second meeting, which is actually, we'll call this phase one. What happens in phase one?
So we review the Enneagram results, and that's always a good and interesting time to just surface some of the things and learn a little bit more about yourself. But then we move on more specifically into the business and do a little bit of a deeper dive. Again, still pretty surface level, but just understanding a little bit more about the industry, some problems that you're maybe facing, some tailwinds that you might have as well. And then we're going to take you through an assessment called the Exit Readiness Assessment. Quick exercise. And again, that's scratching the surface for the next meeting, which is phase two.
Exit Readiness Assessment. We did that the other day with a client. This was last week and kind of went through that. And that's basically saying, just like it says, are you ready? But it goes through, John Dini did this program, and it's an interesting program because it goes through and pinpoints areas that you can improve to just to be ready to transition. I'm trying to think of an example of one area that they might target. A simple one is like all of your loans are in your personal name versus the business name. That means the business is too dependent on you. Yeah. And so there's some things that some business owners are like, oh, that makes sense. That's intuitive. But then there's some other ones that are like, if you don't start doing business a different way, then somebody coming in wanting to buy the business is going to be like, oh gosh, we got to unwind it because the personal stuff and the business stuff is too interwound. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And some of these questions that you're going to be asked seem very obvious on the surface, but you sit back and think about it and you have a hard time answering it. One of them, for example, is what are you going to do when you exit your business? Like a qualitative answer, what are you going to do with your time? Some people have absolutely no idea, and they don't think about it till they're explicitly asked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal because a vast majority of business owners, when they transition, they're sad, they're depressed. It's a tough deal. So we got to really unpack that. What are you going to do with your time? Yep, there's only so much Fox News and flower beds that you can handle.
Exactly.
Okay, so then we're going into the phase two. What's the homework that needs to be done between the phase one and phase two?
Well, we're going to want you to prep for an equity valuation. This isn't a certified valuation that you can use for, buy-sell agreements or anything like that. But what we've learned through our experience is they're pretty darn close. Yeah. What is it, like 5% margin? Yeah. So there's going to be just a quick PDF to fill out, and that'll get us, ready to go through that valuation piece.
That's really important because when we do planning, and we've done a lot of financial plans, and a business owner says, okay, I'm going to use my business equity that's my retirement. I put all the chips on that. And us as advisors, we say, okay, what's the value of your business? And then they just randomly give us a number. We plug that in because that's all we have. So in this, we actually get to do some type of valuation. Not perfect, but at least directionally gives us an idea. We had a case recently where the CPA said it was X and it was almost half of that. And we had to have an uncomfortable conversation, right?
For sure. Yeah. A big thing of it is translating business value to personal wealth.
Yeah.
And you got to know where you are to know where you're going to go, and you got to know where you want to go and understand where you're at to know how to get there. So, seeing what that, again, 5% margin of error, but directional value of your business gives you a starting point. And if you're okay with that, then great. But a lot of times people want to grow it from there. And so it helps us have a launching pad there.
I love it. Phase two. So this is our third meeting, but we call it phase two. So what happens in phase two?
So we'll review that exit readiness assessment. There'll be a lot of great conversation around that. Again, a lot of those results are going to have some quantitative things that we can point out and maybe help you fine tune or think about from another angle, but it's going to be a lot of qualitative as well. And a lot of those questions at least just plant that seed to start having those conversations. From there, we'll also walk through an honest conversations exercise. Again, another reason why we love having the spouse involved. What I've come to find, not only with business owners, but just with clients in general, when we take them through these honest conversations exercises, is they learn something new about their husband or wife.
Yeah, for sure.
They've been married for 45 years and they're learning something new.
Yeah.
And it's always great to see. It's always funny to see the spouse's reaction when they have a new revelation.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be very powerful. So that's also done in phase 3. And then we also just look at some different risks as well.
Well, you're getting ahead.
Yeah.
But I do want to double click on the honest conversations, because I can't reinforce this enough. We call it the non-CFO spouse. Many times it's the wife who's let the husband drive the business and run the business, and she really, as long as the debit card, credit card clears, I'm good. I'm taking care of the family. But her role in this decision is really, really important, because sometimes she's the voice of reason. And, if you haven't listened to the podcast a couple of podcasts ago where I talked about women are better investors than men, her seat at the table is critical to making the transition work the right way. And so we really are adamant about not only having that spouse there, but we have a process. That's key. Have a process to hearing from her, saying what concerns you, what are you thinking about, what's what should we consider doing. And it's really important, because us men, we have egos, and so we could we make a bad decision real quick. And then making bad decisions at that point in life, there's 3 problems with that. 1, there's zeros on these bad decisions. When you made bad decisions when you were younger, there weren't any zeros on it. 2, you make a mistake, you can't necessarily go back to work all the time. You're older. And 3, you might be in the doghouse. So we want to make sure that
Worst
you're...
of them all,
yeah,
too,
exactly.
yeah.
We want to make sure you're okay. Okay. So strategy phase 3 now. So what are we doing here?
Yeah. So really what we're hoping to do through this whole process is solve problems, or identify problems that need to be solved. And so what we're going to do here in phase 3 is doing a risk analysis of the business. We've actually got 9 different risks that we're going to look at through different lenses, and just bring them to the surface. And if we can help solve them, great. Yeah. If not, though, just identifying them is a big part of the equation.
It's a big deal. And just an inside ball game, we have an insurance company here. It doesn't do like property and casualty, but we do life, health, disability. And I once almost sold that off because there's commissions associated with that. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with commissions, because I think that's a conflict of interest. But I talked to a lot of clients, and they're like, actually, we're okay you getting paid commissions. We want you to have it here because it's just easier.
Yeah.
So we've kept it here, and clients have loved it. And frankly, we get paid a commission to do it, so it helps our business. But what my point in that is that some of those risks that we identify, we can solve here, which is kind of cool, like life insurance or disability. And then some of them we can't solve. We point them to people that can. So it's not only saying, okay, here's the problem, but then us nudging them to say, we've got to solve these problems, not just pretend they're going to go away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And tacking on to the risks, we'll also start introducing some contingency planning conversation into this process, because, you're going to exit your business. It's not a matter of if, but when, whether it's your own accord or something happens to you, get hit by a bus or chronic illness, something of that nature. And so having a contingency plan in place is going to, people always say your business is your baby. Yeah. And so you want your baby to be taken care of if you're not around anymore.
Contingency plan, like who's the key man and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. We even get into cyber stuff. So we get
in the weeds.
Very important. Okay. Now we're in strategy phase 4.
Yeah. So this is kind of what we call our valuation meeting. We're going to walk through that valuation process that we talked about earlier. We're going to look at the results of that and discuss the pros and cons of different ways to sell your business, whether it's internally or externally, and different types of buyers. And a lot of times business owners haven't even really given much thought of who they want to sell to. They might have kind of a pie in the sky idea, but they might not understand the drawbacks of doing so.
One of the things that we run into is like somebody just, let me give you an example. So sometimes you just like, I just want to sell it. I had one guy that sold it to his employee, and he sold it on the terms that it was going to be paid. He was going to be paid, the seller was going to be paid a percentage of the profits. But it was constructed without an advisor, without a CPA. And so what happened was this transaction turned into an ordinary income transaction, which is considerably higher than a capital gains transaction. So like, I guess my main point is that we've got to figure out not only potential buyers, but how to, and we can't get into all of this because we need attorneys. That's beyond the scope, but we can have conversations. We do limit the scope because if constructing the whole deal is way beyond this. This is us identifying some of the okay, you need to go this direction or this direction, but at least having a thinking partner that can think through the trade-offs. Another trade-off that might be considered is you might get X amount of money if you sell it externally, and half of that if you sell it internally. So is it worth the trade-off? And just having these conversations, I think, is an important part of this space.
Yeah, and time's your friend here. This is going to be really hard to bring value to a business owner if it's like, hey, I'm selling in 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
But if it's 4 to 6 years, you can think about the trade-offs, and dependent on what your main priority is, we can position, again, for tax purposes or just setting your team up for success, messaging internally. There's things you can do when you have time, a good runway leading up to the decision to ultimately
exit. What you just said is that you need, a good 5 years. This process is really designed for somebody who has some time to do some work on the business.
At least a couple years, if not, a few more than that.
Let's go to the phase 0, strategy phase 0. So what are we doing here? As I said, I'm sorry, 5. Strategy phase 5, yeah.
Yeah, so strategy phase 5 is the 5th and final stage. And this is where we're going to look at what we call the wheel of life. This is really kind of going off your comment earlier about Fox News and flower beds. You can't do that constantly. So what are you going to fill your time with? And there's different areas of your life, whether it's your spiritual life, physical health, emotional health, relational health, areas that you want to flourish in, being intentional about those areas as well, not just, again, selling your business for as much as you possibly can, but setting yourself up to pivot into that next stage of life with solid footing underneath you and understanding what it is that you're going to do. Because you always say it, retiring is...
The disposal of an asset when it's no longer useful. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you are still useful. So how do you want to be useful in this next stage of life?
That's great. You mentioned business. You mentioned pivot. So this is called business pivot planning. And so for those that aren't business owners, maybe you can pass along this episode to your business owner friends. And then hopefully you gleaned a few nuggets of the process that we take people through in the scope of work that we do for business owners, because we really do care about the business owners in and around our community. And frankly, we've got business owners all across the country that do this with us. So it's a fun service that we offer. We're really passionate about it. And thank you for giving us insight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is fun. And thank you again for tuning in to Retire in Texas. And remember, you think different when you think long-term. Have a great day.